Welcome to Friends in Faith. And we're going to talk about, am I good? In this chapter, we're going to go over why we justify ourselves. It's really easy to look at the world in a very simplistic way. Psychology, we call it splitting. You're either absolutely good or absolutely evil. Some people call it the Rocky syndrome. We're either Rocky, the underdog that has had a tough life, everything has gone wrong for him, and he is the hero. And everybody else is Drago, the bad, mean commie who is just filled with steroids and all the rest, and he is pure evil, okay? We divide the world into that, and it's funny because 95% of humanity see themselves as Rocky. And yet, life isn't that complicated. It isn't that simple. Truly, each and every one of us are capable of incredible goodness and love and heroism. It's infinite how much goodness we can produce and reflect. But it's also true that each and every one of us are capable of evil, of selfishness, and of making terrible decisions. And one decision leading to another leads to another. We're capable of anything. And this is all about original sin. Now, because of that, we want to justify ourselves. And one of the worst ways to justify ourselves is to compare. We compare ourselves to others. And we think, wow, Billy Bob just beat up his wife. Well, I'm not that bad. I'm feeling good about myself. And Maybelline says, well, at least I didn't give drugs to my kids like that person's, and I'm not alcoholic like the other person. And we go and begin to see all these really terrible people, and we say, I'm not that bad. I'm not like him, and I'm not like her. And the problem is we can never know why somebody does evil. We don't know what's going on inside. And that's why, how many times does Jesus say, do not judge and you will not be judged? You don't know why they're doing what they're doing. Leave that to me. You can say, objectively speaking, hurting your children is wrong and it's evil. But I can't judge their souls. And so, when somebody does evil, there's 4 things that almost always happen. Number 1, when I do evil, we always justify ourselves. There's always an excuse. And you look at all the studies of people in prison, and they truly believe that they were justified by robbing, beating somebody up. It was always somebody else's fault. The human mind always needs to justify. And our conscience is like a well-tuned instrument. First of all of us think that our guitar is always in tune. And yet you hear somebody else's guitar and you say, wow, that is so out of tune, it's not even funny. And yet every little thing that we do makes our conscience more and more out of tune, until we get to a point where we have deadened our conscience, and our conscience no longer is a good guide. We have made so many justifications, and the slippery slope will make us truly much more blind than we think. Much more blind than we think. And so we always justify ourselves, and we don't recognize our own blind spots. We're not humble. The second thing is, this is always incremental, little by little. Every bad decision we make, or every decision we make for selfish reasons, leads to more blindness. Number 3, we all then become victims. No longer are we blessed, but all of a sudden we see ourselves as a victim who, this happened to me because of you, and you owe me. I deserve X, Y, and Z. I deserve to do this. And everything we do, we're blaming somebody else. And we see it. I'm not as rich as you, so I can go to the store and get as many $1,000 handbags as I can. And you're just saying, how could anybody just do that? Well, when I'm a victim, it always works. Now, it's not as obvious as that. In marriage, for example, when I'm a victim, I become more and more selfish, more and more self-centered. And the problem is, Dr. John Gottman says in marriage, that we understand, that we recognize about 30% of what our spouse does for us, even though we're cognizant of 100% of what we do for them. So we always, the biggest problem is, when we begin to feel like a victim, we excuse our own selfishness. And that makes family life dangerous. So this victimhood is really, really dangerous. We're not accountable to anybody else, and we're free to continue to do what we want to do. Now, here are 7 things to go against this attitude towards justification. Number 1, try to see everyone else as a Rocky, as people who are struggling, people who have had it tough, and we need to root for them. We need to give people the benefit of the doubt. We need to see their potential. In family life, how many times do we fail to give people the benefit of the doubt? And we jump to worst case scenario. I know you. Wow, devastating. Number 2, we need to let go of what I call our ego story. I'm perfect, I'm a good person, No. We need to begin to accept our faults, our defects, and know that I need to try harder and harder every day to try to love more and to try to correspond to God's love and be aware of His love a little bit more every single day. The person who can never admit they're wrong is a very difficult person to live with, especially because he is so insecure, or she is so insecure. Number 3, remember how good God is. Recognize the blessings that He has given me, and truly contemplate those blessings every day. Too many times prayer is an obligation. But for me, prayer is an absolute necessity if I want to be happy, because it is when I contemplate God's blessings and His presence and how fortunate and beloved I am. And it makes me secure, and it allows me to go out and truly live a secure and peaceful and happy life. Number 4, never say, at least I don't. At least I don't do this. At least I'm not bad like that. At least. There's a lot of bad people out there, but their badness doesn't justify my lack of virtue. In arguments with our own family, how many times do we bring up, well, you did this and at least I don't do that? Wow. We got to get away from justifying our own selfishness by bringing in the selfishness or faults of others. Number 5, drop my anger and learn to forgive. Drop my own anger and learn to forgive. Without forgiveness, we become the most miserable people on earth. When we understand God's forgiveness for us, we can turn around and give that forgiveness to others, and that's key. Number 6, know that I'm a terrible judge of myself and of others. It's so typical to have one of those bad days. Didn't have coffee. Traffic was a bear. The 210, there was an accident. And then I stopped for 2 minutes someplace and I got a parking ticket, and the meter maid was a real pain, and she, even though I was there, she still gave me a ticket. And I'm in a bad mood, but I deserve to be in a bad mood. I deserve to be angry. No. And yet when somebody else is angry, we always say, wow, you're being a royal pain in the extreme lower back. And there's no excuse for that. We're harsh on others, but we justify ourselves by external things. Be careful judging. And number 7, we need to trust in God. See all through his eyes. Being kind and merciful. But that means I have to have a prayer life. And it has to be daily. Do I need God in my life? Do I really need him? And do I think that without him, I am never going to be happy, nor am I going to be whole? And I will always have a tendency to justify myself. May you have a great discussion, and may God bless all of your groups. Thank you.